everybody. Welcome back to Tango Talks. This is episode 8, and today we're going to deal with PTSD and veteran suicide. It is the 27th of May, 2025, and here we go with the show. I want to welcome our special guest, Marion Stark. She is a former Marine, and trust me when I say she can scare the pants off of you. I grew up with this girl, and lots of stories there. But we're going to talk about our subject today, and we're going to let her start off the show, and we will fill in behind her.
Okay. Well, thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Gee. A lot of people these days associate PTSD with just the men and women coming back from the Gulf Wars. But believe it or not, PTSD goes way back, goes back centuries. And there's mentions of combat stress dating back to ancient Greece and Rome. There's mentions of nightmares and flashbacks, and they're all found in ancient Greek and Roman writings.
So they actually documented it way back then.
Way back then. But it wasn't called PTSD.
Yeah.
Then during the Civil War and World War I, it was called soldier's heart or irritable heart or shell shock.
Okay.
Yep, I've heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've heard
And
that
then
term.
World War II, it morphed into combat stress reaction or battle fatigue.
I've heard the battle fatigue
Yes.
before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Vietnam War played a big role in bringing PTSD to the forefront of a veteran's mental health and getting it researched and diagnosed. Now, as of 1980, the APA officially recognized PTSD as a mental health disorder.
Now, just for our listeners, what does APA stand for?
Oh, American Psychiatric Association.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. So,
It's funny how I'm sure if you research any disorder, it always starts off as one thing, and then once they learn enough about it, and the psychological community gets involved into it, then they finally diagnose it and come up with an actual term for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's interesting what you just said, like how the variation of the name changed throughout the decades or the centuries actually.
and quite to me, sometimes it feels like it's not so much that they documented it and they put this term to describe it. They made it sound something less than what it actually is. Okay?
That's a common thing.
And it's, to me, I don't care what bow you wrap it up into. It's still ugly.
Yep.
And there's too many of them dying because of it.
Yes.
So.
No, absolutely, and then and there's so many forms of it too. You know what I mean? Like if I could access my notes, because I found that it's not just one particular set of symptoms. You know what I mean? There's different.
There's depression.
Right. There's a whole bunch of different things, and
agitation.
Yep. So, like, I found this one. It's called intrusive memories. There's, and it gives you the symptoms of it. There's just piles of it on here. I mean, I got Angela can see me scrolling through all my notes here. It's just,
again, it's there's intrusive memories. There's the flashbacks. There's certain things can bring it on. Triggers.
Yeah, certain triggers.
The smell of diesel.
Oh, really?
The smell of diesel.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense, though, because it's just like hearing a certain song, and all of a sudden you feel like you're back at that time. You know what I mean?
Some people, it's loud noises.
Yeah, that's the one I think everybody associates PTSD
Yeah.
with, that, like loud noises and bangs and like that, and all of a sudden they're like hitting the floor and they're freaking out. And I don't think the general population realizes that it's not the case. You know what I mean? For everybody.
Oh, exactly.
There's different levels of it and different reactions. We have somebody that we know who won't sit with his back to a door. You know what I mean? Or like here, will never sit there. That always sits somewhere where he can view.
It's funny you say that.
Because you're like,
'Cause I'm like
you're a little
that.
uncomfortable sitting right there.
But actually, that's not from the military. That's from being brought up with 3 boys,
Oh,
and they tormented me. So,
we'll have to do a segment on sibling PTSD.
so there's just like I said, the loud noises. But it's not so much the loud noises; it's the sudden
Bang.
bang,
Yeah.
or whatever. It's the smell of diesel. It's the sound of a train. Different things like that. Thunder.
Oh, I could see
lightning.
thunder because
thunder,
it
lightning,
could sound like
Exactly.
shells going
Mhm.
off and
fireworks,
The rain.
The rain. Yeah.
really the rain.
The rain. Because a lot of the weather, especially in Vietnam,
It was rain.
they're
Was
trudging.
rain.
They're trudging
Oh,
through the
the
forest.
swamps and
Yeah.
mud.
Swamp-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the rain hitting the rice paddies and oh yeah.
See, that's crazy. I would just those are things I would never think of.
Right.
And it's just sad. Me and Angela have talked about this a couple of times. It's sad that like when I was looking up some of this information, there's
Mhm.
other things too that you can associate with veterans. The homelessness and just the lack of jobs and the stigma that some of them have.
And that's why a lot of them
For-
don't get the help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we say there's still that negative connotation that goes along with that, just those letters, that acronym is PTSD, like that is something that's so, it's a terrible label, nobody really wants to have that association with that. I don't have that. I can deal with whatever. But in a way, it's actually good to have that acronym because, like you just told us, I mean, this is something that's been brought forth now, and now everyone can actually be put into a category and treated as such, to get the healing that they need, the help and healing that they need.
Right. And I mean PTSD these days don't always mean, military associated.
Correct.
Right.
It could be abuse. It could be, whatever.
Yes.
And
Right, because it doesn't say post-war.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
Right.
and I think
Right. It's
Right.
post-traumatic,
And I think people,
yes.
like you just said, Angela, it's got such a negative connotation to it. I mean,
Yeah.
people hear that and they're like, "Oh, why? What happened?" And
Yeah.
it's just, oh, I can't. I'm trying to say what
People
I'm thinking.
feel ashamed.
Well, that, and I think that on the other side, people don't understand it, so they hear it and they just think, this person's all messed up or something.
Yeah. Oh, I
You know
don't
what
want to talk.
Not
about
right.
it.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
not taking the time to understand like what the problem really is.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of it too is just being somebody who's been diagnosed with PTSD. You could have that interaction with that person and they just feel like you just don't understand it all.
Exactly.
Because maybe you've not been through, the same situation, but maybe you've been through something different. So you can actually empathize or even sympathize with some of the things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they feel, the individual who's dealing with that, they feel very emotionally
Guarded.
guarded and unsupported.
Oh, exactly.
So I mean, this is something that's, we don't think of it a lot of times, and I think you don't think of it as a very serious condition.
Right. That's the other thing. I think people hear it and they're just like, "Oh, okay."
It's just
Here we go.
whatever.
They're whining,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
You know,
another label, that kind of thing, and I don't think that's what that is.
Oh,
I think that just having a classification allows, the medical field to actually take care of an individual who has a stress of, this stress disorder.
Right. And right now, the VA needs to do more.
Right.
Okay, I have to tread lightly. The VA does need to do more. They recognize that. They have done more, and you can see that it's improved, but they need to not just consider it a clinical issue. It needs to be put to the forefront of their priorities and as a medical issue.
Now, do you think that's a budgeting issue or just like lack of personnel? Or both?
It could be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a lot of different things that have been done to help, but just like anything else, more. You need to do more.
Yeah, I agree. I think that our veterans are greatly forgotten. You know what I mean? And people take things like PTSD, as we've said already, that they take it too lightly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We don't. I mean, I don't know what the population split is as far as like how many military personnel there are.
Well,
to
it's a funny thing you say that.
You got that number, don't you?
Well, this is from Oneida County.
Okay.
But I can tell you, this was a survey that was done between 2019 and 2023. Okay? The veteran population was 13,113.
Wow.
10,559 were male, and 1,165 were female.
Wow, that's a lot of people in just one county.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
yeah,
one county.
it is,
Yeah.
and that encompassed everything: World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and both Gulf Wars from 1990, and then the other Gulf War from 2001 to current.
Correct.
And what they're doing is 200,000 service members transition from the military to civilian life each year.
And don't they say that that's the most stressful thing for them?
It is.
Because they go from a regimented day to now, okay, well, go out there and find a job.
Well,
and do
it's not only that. It's they go from a job and a home and a family that they have grown to
Yes.
rely on.
Yeah.
And then it's all, have a nice
all
day.
gone.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, in less than 50% of the vets that transition get enrolled in any VA healthcare.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because when my dad passed away last year, we were going through his records and we found that he'd never even tried to apply for anything.
Yeah.
He just kept saying, "Well, I don't qualify." It's like, well, how do you know if you don't try? You know what I mean? You got to at least fill out the applications and try because you don't know. Now they're doing these researches into like where did you serve all through your active life, active duty, because some of these bases were contaminated.
Pamphlet you.
You know what I mean? So, and my dad, just never bothered to look into it. My uncle, he was having a lot of health problems, and he went to the VA. My dad's never been there. He's never gone to the VA. Now I don't know what his stigma was with it, but my uncle went, and they found that at one of the bases he was at, he was exposed to Agent Orange.
There you go.
So, what they did is they had to pay him back for whatever, I think it was like 23 years at $3,000 a month, and he got it all in one lump chunk. And I kept telling my dad, it's like, you need to at least fill the paperwork. You might not get anything, but you won't know unless you try.
And I think part of it, and I am not in any way knocking the military or the administration that goes with separating,
Right.
soldiers into the civilian life. But I think it's like they have a sheet, and you check this off, check this off, check this off. Okay, you're done. Here's your ticket home. Goodbye.
Right.
But it's estimated that 41% of the veterans these days are in need of some form of mental health, and they don't get it.
Well, I understand the whole stigma about not going. It took me years and years and years. It wasn't until my parents got deep into health issues that I was feeling some guilt and stuff like that. So, but even when in past relationships, I have a lady that I talk to all the time, and I call her up, and it helps. You know what I mean? The only thing that drives me crazy though with psychologists, and I'm not knocking them, but they never really tell you anything.
No,
it's all right. They make you think about it and figure it out on your own, which I guess is the best way. But I know for me, sometimes I'm like, can you just tell me yes or no? That's all I want to know. And she's like, well, what do you think you should do? It's like, that's not what I want. But I understand the stigma, because it took me years, it took me decades to go and seek help. You know what I mean? And it does help. Just I think. For me, anyways, having someone non-biased that doesn't know your family history, doesn't know anybody but you, that you could talk to, and knowing that it's secure, you know what I mean, and they're not going to be gossiping about it and stuff like that.
Judgment-free zone.
Judgment-free zone.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of the things too, and I see this, well, I'm a military wife, so I have a little bit of insight on these things. But I think...
Oh, she's one of those.
I'm one of those. I think it's that whole mentality, you're all trained a certain way to face some bad situations, and to, it's not always an easy anything for you, I mean, everything's a rough road altogether. And I think you just have to find some way within you to just be like strong and not have any type of a reaction to anything, and just be, straight faced, and you're not supposed to seek anything out. Just grin and bear it. It's almost done. You've got a job to do it, and that's the end of it.
God, that sounds like my upbringing.
Right?
I'll confess to that. I know that.
You do.
I'll agree with her.
You do. You just grin and bear it, and you come to terms with it, and you achieve whatever the mission is, whatever the goal is. That's what your objective is to achieve those things. So now you come back home, and everybody's saying to you, okay, you should really get some help. You should really get some help.
Well, and I think that's the last thing anybody wants to hear.
Yeah.
You don't want your friends and family telling you, like, you need to go seek some help.
You should really
But
get something.
Sometimes you got to listen to them. You know what I mean? If you have enough people telling you something.
Just like Marion was saying, though, I mean, you have a family that you're so close knit with, because you're together on your deployments, and you're spending years at
And you're
a time,
trusting each other.
or months and years at a time, and you're trusting each other, and you know that you've all got each other's backs.
Exactly.
So then you come home and you go to the grocery store with your wife, and your wife is not military trained, but you have to make sure that you take care of the situation at home now. So there's 15 exits, and there's 4 ways in, and there's above you, there's a,
Yeah. I've seen people do that where they walk in and they're like, they're looking around. It's like, okay, there's a door there, there's a door there, there's a door there.
I still do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I had a friend well, it's been a few years, a couple years. And it was the first time I'd ever been in a casino. And I'm walking through, and I'm looking up, and I'm checking corners.
Cameras.
Everything. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, well, somebody could perch up there. And they're like, are you nuts? No, I'm not. That's just what I mean. And I never take the same way home, because we were always trained. You do not have a pattern.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
my husband's brother is the same way. He always tells us, like, don't ever drive over anything in the road. Even if it's just a McDonald's bag, don't drive over it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Yeah. But there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? They used to hide bombs and artillery stuff in the road. And,
IEDs.
Yep. No, as I was saying,
I got this is an unfair advantage. You two know all the little technical terms. I'm just like, yeah, the bombs in the road. That's what they did. You guys, this is what it's called.
well, I could teach you.
No. I barely remember how I get to work sometimes, okay? I just show up there and it's like, did I drive here?
But, as I was saying, like I said, it's an estimated 41% of the vets that are in need of this mental health programs every year. Mental health and suicide are 2 very difficult things to get your arms around, but that's what you have to do. You have to get your arms around them and tell them. You don't have to say, oh, it's going to be okay,
right.
But we're here.
Right.
We got you. You know,
Yeah.
we got your
And
back.
unfortunately, those two things go hand in hand.
Yes,
You know
they
what I
do.
mean?
Because, you know, a study found that veterans are most vulnerable to suicide within the first 3 months after being separated from the military.
She's answering all the questions I had.
I
I remember some of these.
know,
I
I
remember
know.
some of these. Like, oh yeah, we're going to ask this, but you're doing awesome. You've got all the answers to the questions. I don't even have to ask them.
Yeah, well, I'm anticipating.
Welcome to the new host of Tango Talks, Marion.
And for my next trick. But, you know, but the thing is, suicide still remains, the risk for it anyway, remains elevated for years. And sometimes that it takes them no matter what. Now, back in 17 October 2020, Donald Trump signed into law the Commander John Scott Hannon Veterans Mental Health Care Improvement Act. And what that did, it has expanded mental health options for vets through grant programs and suicide prevention programs, especially in underserved areas. The Hanson Act was inspired by the service of Commander John Scott Hannon, who retired after a decorated 23-year run in the military.
Wow.
Okay, he was with the Navy SEALs, and he died by suicide. 25 February 2018, he was only 46 years old.
Oh, so
So
sad.
sad.
So sad.
So, but this act opened the door so that, you know, we can get some grants for community programs.
Right.
Roughly 17 veterans commit suicide per day.
Per day.
Per day.
That's awful.
Okay?
That's really sad. I mean, suicide to me in any means, whether it's military or not, just it always
It's a very
brings a tear to me because I always just think like this person had nobody else in their mind. They had nobody else to talk to.
it's a
Turn,
very
yeah.
permanent solution to what could be a temporary problem.
Right. And I've had several friends growing up that have committed suicide, and it's just it breaks my heart. You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't call me. I mean, maybe we weren't the best friends, but it's like we may not have been the best of friends in high school or anything, but I would have listened. You know what I mean? And
That's it,
just
So, you know, I tell people, because I am now, well, as of tomorrow, I will be officially installed as the commander for the Holland Patton Legion Post 161.
I saw your plaque. You know why?
Why?
We did it. I saw your name on the monitor and I was like, wait, and I'm reading, it's like, I know her. Well, congratulations.
Yes,
And
yay.
thank you. But, I tell the guys and gals in my post, because not only do we have the Legionnaires, but we have the Sons of the American Legion, we have the Auxiliary, we have the SAL Riders, we have a Riders chapter, they motorcycles.
Yes, yep.
But, and I tell them, when I see them kind of down or whatever, hey, dude, come talk to me. I got broad shoulders. They match my broad ass. So, and it
Yeah.
gets them to giggle like you just did.
Yep.
But then it's like, oh, okay, I can talk to her. And they know whatever they talk to me about, it stays right with
Right,
us,
right.
And, if I can point them into a direction to, okay, you need to talk to this person, or let's call this person
Yep.
up.
Everybody at some point in their
Yeah.
life always needs somebody extra to talk to.
Yeah.
And I've done it with customers. I've had customers come in because you get to know them and learn them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a girl come in, and she wasn't her normal like sparky
Yeah.
thing. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she just stopped and looked at me. She's like, "Why would you ask that?" I said, "Because you don't seem like you're yourself." And then she kind of got a little teary, and she was like, "Well, this is happening. This is happening." It's like, "Can I give you a hug?" You know what I mean? And it made her feel better. You know what I mean? And I did it to another person. It was a guy, and same thing. You know what I mean? And he'd come in. It's like, "Are you okay?" And he was telling me, a bunch of things that had happened. Friends had passed away, and he was having a hard time with it. And I was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And he just stood there, and he's like, "Really?" I'm like, yeah. And I gave him a hug, and he just said thank you, and I really needed that, and I think that, and just listening to people,
Exactly. That's why the good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll tell you a story. In my capacity of a Legionnaire member, I had occasion to listen to former National American Legion Commander C. Hafer. They do a visitation once a year, and his was last year, and he started a program called Be the One. It's regarding combating veteran suicide. Be the one somebody can come to and talk to you about
Exactly.
anything. You don't see Joe for 2 or 3 days. Call him up. How you doing?
Right.
Let's go have a pop. Whatever. And because I don't drink, but anyway, but anything like that. Just be there for them,
Right.
so that they have a sounding board. A lot of times, that's all they want or need is somebody that can just listen and absorb it. But what he was talking about as the national commander, he would always do these visitations and tour different legions, different districts as they're divided into New York. And one of the districts he visited, he was talking to the commander, who was in a wheelchair. Commander was telling him about his life, how he had gotten out of the service because of his injuries. And after a couple of years, bad luck, the trauma, everything else, lost his home, lost his family. They just couldn't take it anymore. And he was on his, pardon the pun, his last legs. He didn't know what to do. The only thing he thought he could do would be to end it. So he decided to go to a group to see if maybe, he could get some camaraderie. He walked in, and a rather crusty person said, "Son, I fought my war. I'm not fighting yours."
Mm.
So that's kind of like shutting the door right in your face,
Right.
He went home, got a revolver out, loaded it, put it to his head, and pulled the trigger. It didn't fire.
Mm.
He recocked it, pulled the trigger. It misfired. It didn't fire again. So he took that as a sign.
I was going to say the same thing. I'd be, all right, there's...
Yeah.
He took that as a sign, and he made his way into a legion. The fellows at that legion welcomed him with open arms, helped him get the help he needed to get back on his feet, and he became the commander of that legion.
That's awesome.
I'm getting chills just...
I know.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
really
That's
a
awesome.
great
But
story.
that's what it's all about. Be that one. Be the people that can, reach out and help these people pull themselves up, and don't just sit there and say, "Oh, well, go."
He's in a bad mood.
Yeah. We've been in a bad mood for 40 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just so important to be cognizant of the people around you.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I think the problem is we all get so wrapped up in our own lives
Mhm.
that we don't pay attention to what's happening around us. You know what I mean? And it could be anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
could be the dude in front of you that's taking too long at the counter,
Yep.
but it's him, and you need to just reach out and say, "Hey, I got you. We can get through this together."
Right.
And the more that we press our congressmen, our senators, anybody, hey, this needs to be funded. You need to fund these programs for these people.
I agree.
you
Yeah.
know?
But how do you, now that we're saying all of these things and the things that we should be doing, which almost sounds like total common sense for anybody, like it just being, in my book, that's just being a good human being.
Exactly.
But how do you get involved in some of these things? Like how can you even, like talking to our congressmen, how do you get big enough groups to sign letters and do things like that? Like how do you go about getting involved like that?
It only takes one. It only takes one. All you need
See,
to
I know what you're saying, Angela, because I feel, for myself, I always feel like, well, I'm one person. What can I do? You know?
but
Yeah,
it
but-
only takes
I know.
one.
I know. And then you hear it in almost everything that has to do with any kind of voting type thing. You know, you could be the one person that sways that whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's the truth. But I mean, you know, you can look at your local. A lot of times, your towns have meetings. Your
Yeah,
counties
yep.
have meetings. Go to them. Get involved that way on a more base level. You know, go to your school board, and listen to the meetings there, for different things. But for this, reach out to the veterans organizations in the area, the VFW, the Legion, you know, and we can definitely point you. If we can't help you ourselves, we are definitely going to point you in the right direction. If it's okay, I would like to give the name of our Oneida County Legion service officer.
Sure.
All right, his name is Dan Clark, and he is a hell of a guy. He's very intense, and this is one of his babies. This is one of his pets. He wants people to get the help they need. He wants people to get to the VA and get the help that they
Right.
deserve. I have his phone number. If that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
315-796-4247.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be right back. All right, thank you everybody for tuning back in. We're resuming our episode after I got my cocktail refilled, because we all know how important that is to me. And we're here talking with Marion Stark, and today's topic is PTSD and veteran suicide. We do have a number. Again, we're going to give that number out again.
It is 315-796-4247. That is for Daniel Clark. He is the Oneida County Legion Service Officer, and he can get you connected to any help that you may need.
That's awesome.
Another thing that I'd like to talk about, we were talking about it during the break, is the Citron military program.
See, and I never heard of that, you know, and they're local.
Yeah. And, well, it's run by Jackie Warmuth, who is a goddess. She is amazing at what she brings to the table for this program. And I also,
Wait, is that the Warrior Retreat?
that's the annual Warrior Retreat. But this program, all right, the military program, it's an everyday thing.
Right.
All right. The Warrior Retreat is once a year where they go and they go to cabins, they fish, they paint rocks, they tell stories, they,
Right.
Whatever.
I just realized why I remember her name. We print their shirts. I was like, why do I know this Warrior Retreat and that name?
Yep. And that's why. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I had the good fortune of, again, through my Legion affiliation, to serve lunch at the Warrior Retreat last year.
That's awesome.
And just to see these folks lean on each other and support each other, knowing that that's okay. Sometimes
It's okay to be vulnerable.
it's okay. Well, contrary
Not
to
saying weak, but vulnerable.
there you go. Okay. Sometimes you can't be the strong one. Sometimes you need the help.
Right.
And they see that it's okay to ask for the help.
Right.
Nobody puts them down. There's no shaming. And that's what a big piece of people not getting the help is because they're ashamed. They weren't brought up that way.
Right.
Don't cry. That's a sign of weakness.
That's another episode we can talk about.
Okay. Well, I think,
Yeah.
that one,
Yeah.
just chin up,
Right.
and to see them be able to put their arms around each other and say, okay, come on, I got you, brother. We're good.
Right.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. And you leave that day thinking,
I can tell it means a lot to you. I can see the emotion on your face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's near and dear to my heart.
right.
Okay, and this year's national commander is actually continuing the Be the One campaign, and he's putting more and more emphasis on buddy checks.
Right.
Which is basically, like I said, you hadn't seen Bob for a couple days, give him a call, stop by his house.
Yep.
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
So, it's always just to let people know they can connect.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Be approachable.
Yeah, well, it means something that to have somebody call you and just say,
Hey, how are you?
how are you? How you doing? What's going on? What have you been doing?
Exactly.
Now, do I remember? You're a military family, right?
My dad was in the Marines,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
My brother retired from the Army. I won't hold that against him.
I think that's the other reason why we didn't have our other guest tonight.
Yeah, my brother retired after over 35 years.
Oh, God bless.
Multiple tours, Kuwait, Iran. He was in Egypt, which was not a friendly place for Americans either. And, he, I think, suffers. And he'll readily admit it, but he's like, oh, it's okay, And I told him, talk to me. I'm here, I can understand some of the jargon, but,
Right.
you're Army and, I'll just have to dumb it down just a little bit. And that gets a giggle out of him. But my dad was a Marine. His uncle was a Marine. From the time I was in 6th grade, whenever the guidance counselors would ask, what do you want to do? I want to be a Marine. 2 days after I graduated high school, damn it, I was in the Marines.
I know you. After graduation, it was like, where'd she go? She just disappeared.
And then I came back.
I was afraid to look too hard. I was like, somebody's watching me. It's like if I searched the name too many times, it's like somebody going to show up at the house. Like, wow, are you looking for her? We went to high school together.
She's my friend.
He's on that list. But I miss my military. I do miss it very much. I got out because I was a single parent, and let's face it, if the military had wanted me to have a family, they would have issued me one. Okay. But I don't regret my decision getting out, but I do miss it.
Right.
I do miss it every day. In fact, if you look at my phone's still military time. 1901. Yeah. But and my son will say, oh, you're not in the military anymore, and I got to go to the head, it's the bathroom. So, different things. But it was structured. It was disciplined.
Right.
You knew what you were. Even if you were bad, you knew what you were. And then you get out in the civilian life, and it's like, that's not how that works,
Yeah.
So I don't have PTSD. I don't have any of that. But I can certainly understand
Right.
how and why it happens, because it's culture shock.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah.
you're leaving
Yeah.
one family, and like I said, this rigid discipline and structure, and you knew what you were.
Right.
You knew what you were.
But not only that, but nobody can understand what any of these people have gone through and seen unless they're in their shoes.
Unless you've done
or
it,
next to
yeah.
them. You know what I mean? Like we can, you know more than I do, Angela, but like I can sit here and talk about it all day long and sympathize and try to understand. But obviously, I wasn't there. I don't know what you saw. You know what I mean? And I know we have a lot of high school friends that are in the military. I don't know if they've seen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you can try to understand and listen and be compassionate, but you can't say like, oh, I understand.
But the thing is, it's not so much sympathizing, Wayne. It's empathizing.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
like
All right.
putting
Empathize. Just say, hey, talk to me. And like you said, you can't say, oh, I know how you feel.
Right.
Because you don't. But you can say, well, let's hear some more,
Right.
And And not so much I understand, but I'm listening.
Yep.
And that's a big thing. I'm listening.
I agree.
So, one of the other issues, I don't know if it's a byproduct of, the mental illness or just, the separation anxiety, after you transition from military, is homelessness.
Yeah.
And it seems it goes hand in hand a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned in the beginning there. It's just sad that to me, it's heartbreaking that any military person doesn't have a home. There should be no excuse for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or food.
Or food.
Or food,
Right.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They should be regarded as our most precious commodity. You know what I mean? They went and did things that most of us couldn't do.
Couldn't.
You know what I mean?
Wouldn't.
Or wouldn't, right? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It just bothers me when I see those statistics about, how many, and I had them.
Well, I helped you.
I had all those, and I was going to talk about
And you were so well prepared.
You were. But it's just so heartbreaking that, you read those statistics that, 41,000 are homeless or, and it's like, why? Why?
Yeah.
There should be no, I don't care what the problem is, or the reason for it, but the government should be, I'm not trying to bash the government, but I'm just saying there should be more to help them so that if they are behind on their mortgage, that somebody can step up and help them. Or if they don't have food, somebody should be able to, give them food. I know Angela and I are looking for, to feed our vets. I agree. They're a great organization. And we've been doing stuff and sponsoring them for probably the last 7 to 10 years. But me and Angela have been trying to work on a project here where, we want to raise money for local, like Riichfield Springs area vets. You know what I mean? Because
what thoughts have you gotten? Have you put anything on paper yet? Or
we've kind of scribbled things down, but we're trying to find a way
you
to.
don't scribble.
What do you mean I don't scribble?
You don't scribble.
But it's hard for some reason. Like I've reached out to the VFW here a couple of times. I don't get a response. I've reached out to the Legion. We don't get a response. And we're trying to bring awareness to it. Small, locally, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's just hard to get going with it.
What ways were you planning on doing this? I mean,
just like we
like
talked
a
about.
cornhole tournament?
Yeah,
or
like dinners,
dinner.
anything like that, especially like in the winter months, because the winter months are so long around here. And if you have all but to think, these are when those thoughts are going through your head,
right.
Mm-hmm. So if there was a way to have an interaction, like you said, a cornhole tournament, a pool tournament, darts, whatever the case may be,
Yep.
dinners.
Yep.
A sock hop, anything like that. It'd be fun things to get people together.
Because we wanted to raise money and like we talked before, like if they needed food or if they needed something done on their house, maybe some painting or cleaning or mowing or,
Just do that. I can't remember if that was in New York State or another state, but they would raise money. I remember the World War II vet house, the porch or something was in terrible disrepair. And they raised the money, and they showed up at his house on a weekend and redid his whole porch.
Redid the porch, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff we want to do. And if anybody out there, has any ideas to help us out, I'm not just talking Riichfield Springs, just in general, if they have ideas on how to, raise some funds and help out local heroes in your town, even, give us a shout out at 315-801-9655. You can call before, during, or after the show, and we'd be glad to, talk it over with you, refer you to some people. We'd really... Me and Angela talked about this a lot, actually, a couple of times.
Yeah,
and we just want to give something back. You know what I mean? These people gave so much to us to have what we have. Mm-hmm. And we just want to give something back. You know what I mean? And even if it's just something simple, helping, cleaning up the yard, mowing, whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes those simple things.
That's it. It's little steps. Well, it's like we just celebrated Memorial Day yesterday.
Right.
Memorial Day is for those vets that died in service of our country. They didn't plan to die.
Right.
They didn't volunteer to die. They volunteered to do a job. And if dying was part of it, they did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you have Veterans Day, which celebrates us living veterans in November. It's just really important. I'm not saying you have to put veterans on a pedestal, okay? But respect them.
Absolutely.
Give them respect, because some of them have lost their self-respect. Give them your respect.
Absolutely. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like it's really, I feel like some of that has been lost over the years, you know, and that's our fault, you know, because I know I was raised like that because I had military in my family and, you know, several uncles and aunts even who have been, you know, in the military. And I was always taught that this is, you know, that's, you thank them for their service. You know, it's respectful to, you know, just to do things for them. They're paying the ultimate price. Right. They make the sacrifices. They're not, you know, they miss the birthday parties. They miss the graduation ceremonies. They miss the weddings. Yeah,
the
all
deaths.
of it, the deaths. You know, and that's a really, you know, we take a lot of things for granted, you know, and until you're actually in it, you don't realize the ultimate sacrifices that.
Right. And I think a lot of that, like what you just said, I think a lot of that probably plays into their, you know, their thoughts. You know what I mean? You come back home and, you know, you find out, you know, so many people in your family passed away and you missed graduations and births and, you know, wedding, you know, there's a lot that you miss, you know, especially when you do these long terms where you're, sometimes you're gone for 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yep. You know, my aunt retired a full bird colonel from the Army.
Really?
She was a nurse. Yeah, she did 2 or 3 tours over in Iraq. You know, and she just said, you know, what I missed, you know, because, you know, her, at the time, her son, my cousin, was fighting cancer. You know, and, you know, she was retired and had some years with him, you know, before he passed.
Right.
But I mean, all the time that she missed
before that.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, it takes a toll. It really does.
Really
And,
does.
you know, I just can't say enough. Like you know, what's that? You know, me and Angela talk about it a lot. You know, like what can we do? And you know, and I think what was it?
We
3 or
talked
4
about
years
it.
ago, we took your husband out for Veterans Day.
Oh, yeah.
And he was
we
just
started-
so shocked, and I thought he was going to like tear up because nobody's ever done that for him. You know what I mean? They didn't make such a, you know, like we're going to take you out to, you know, let's go down to Omegang and have a couple of brews and stuff like that, and it made him feel good. I think.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
think he had
Well,
a good time, and
right, because, you know, again, I'm going to go back to Vietnam. Okay, those boys, most of them were poorer boys because the rich ones,
right,
you know. But anyways, you know, they fought a war they didn't understand, and when they came back, they were treated like dirt.
so poorly. Yeah.
You know, now my father was a Korean War veteran, and even then, he remembers there were signs that said service members and dogs keep off the grass.
what?
Yeah, on people's yards. I mean,
Who would do such a thing?
people that did not respect the military.
I
or I think what it is they didn't like the government's position. So rather than go to the source,
Right.
you know, they're taking it out
on the workers.
on the workers.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if the government would say, okay, military, this is what we need you to do. Get back to us when you're done. And then stay out of it. Okay? Stay out of it. You know, just let us know what you need,
Right.
you know, but stay out of it. It would get done a lot quicker and a lot more efficient.
Now you sound like my husband when we're watching movies. He's like, if I wrote this show, it'd be over in 10 minutes.
Well,
it's like, well, you got to have some filler in there. And he's like, no, you don't. You need this, and we're done.
In the beginning.
So, if he had my husband run the next war, it'll be over in 10 days. We're going to do this, and this, and we're going to be out of there. Okay, let's go.
Well, that's it. But, and another thing I think is that a lot of your military veterans feel disrespected by the government.
Yes.
Because I think they feel like they're being viewed as throwaway parts.
Yeah. Well, especially like you said during the Korean and Vietnam War and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those wars that
they were very unpopular.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah.
And that's the thing too. I think, and you brought up a really good point with that. They feel like they're just throwaway, but they're not opinions that they want to express. Like that's not something that they want to just come right out and say.
Right.
She's
feeling sorry for herself.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, there's a lot that people can do. The fact that you guys want to do stuff, I mean, that's great. Let's get it done.
Right.
And if I can help, let me know.
We'll keep you on the list.
Yeah, we certainly will.
All right.
I just feel the highest respect for military people because I mean, for me, they're doing stuff that I know.
Then why did it take me going away and coming back in a uniform for you to respect me?
Well, I'm not saying I do now. I mean, there's a limit to how far that respect can go. Knowing each other for a long, long time, we put each other through a lot of shit.
Yes, we have.
So yeah, but no, I do respect you for that. Absolutely, because I mean, and I'm proud that there were so many people from our class that went and served. You know what I mean? And they've done great things with their lives afterwards.
Absolutely.
So I had just your husband. I have great respect for him. For doing, like I said, things that most people just can't or won't do.
And being a military wife is not easy either. And I respect you, and you have my. You need to be blessed because I'm telling you.
She holds her own pretty good, trust me.
I know. Well, I'm sure there's been days when she's
picked up some stuff.
Yelled into a pillow, So me, I have a punching bag, so I'm good.
I always wanted to, I know I'm getting way off topic, and this is my trait. But when I first bought my business, I had this closet off to the side, and I wanted to have it padded. So after I got done with a bad customer, I just wanted to go in and just thrash myself about for like 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And I could bounce off the walls and come back out and be like, okay, what's next? I think everybody should have one in their house, you know what I mean?
Again, I have a punching bag. I have a 100-pound punching bag, and the gloves are in the car. We can go around if you want.
No, I'll pass. I grew up fearing you, so you know what? Again, off topic, but who I had a similar conversation with at the reunion was Alice Busick.
Oh my
Alice,
goodness,
Alice
yeah.
Beer. But I walked right up to her and she. I don't remember who walked up to her, but I think I walked up to her and we started talking and I said, I was so afraid of you on the bus. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, you just scared the piss out of me all the time. I was afraid to talk to you, sit next to you. You just looked like you would just like spit nails at people. And she was like, well, I'm sorry. I'm just not a morning person. She was so sweet. And we've chatted back and forth a couple of times on Facebook and stuff like that. But it's, one of those illusions you have in their head about somebody, and I just like never talked to her. I was just like, I'm so afraid of you.
Oh my goodness.
Well, she did have that look, but she was a nice person.
Yeah, she was. Well, I want to thank you again for coming in and taking over the show.
No, we love that because we've not really had any guests yet, and you're our first, and we're really excited that you were.
Yeah, and
it was.
Thank you.
I think it makes us excited now to have more people. And you did such a great job, so much information, and we certainly appreciate it. And God bless you for being a Marine.
You. Well, thank you.
I know somebody will.
Yes.
Somebody will hear this and be like, "What?"
Just like you did with your brother. But thank you, Marion. Thank you for your service. Thank you for this. This was really great. Yes. Thank you.
When people tell me, because we march. My Legion marches, and every once in a while we'll be marching, and we'll hear someone from the side of the road or whatever. Thank you for your service. I always turn around and say, you were worth it, because that's what it's all about.
Oh, that's an awesome saying.
That's
I like
an awesome
that.
statement.
Yep.
Really is.
I think that makes people think like I would stop if somebody said that to me. I'd be like, oh, they really did do it for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. This was my first podcast. and I was a little nervous. Thank you for, breaking me in gently. and it was my pleasure. Again, it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And if you can think of anything else that I may be able to assist you with, or maybe have another podcast about different things, let me know. I'm open to it.
Awesome. We could have a returning guest.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe I'll
We
bring Dan
appreciate
with
it.
me the next time.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you again.
All right. Well,
you.
thank you.
Once again, thank you everybody for joining us today. We hope you were mildly entertained. If not, who cares? Tango Talks was recorded in front of a totally digital audience and is a division of HM Print Design LLC. Please do us a favor and like, share, follow everywhere you can. Till our next cocktail, this is Angela and Tango saying Skull.